Kristen Hopkins,
Yes.
welcome to Career Conversations. How are you today?
Well, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is the first time we've ever actually met.
Yes, it is.
And
Virtually or whatever you want to call it.
it's the power of the internet. And so before I get you to tell the world about you, we actually met through the power of Twitter. We follow each other. As you can see, she's got her Gamecock shirt on. I've got mine on. And we connected through Gamecock Twitter. And I wanted to have this conversation for two reasons. Number one, to show that Twitter is not just an absolute cesspool of the worst people on the planet, that good things and connections can happen out of it. And number two, education and teachers in the pandemic has just been such a hot button. And I wanted to get your perspective as an administrator on it. So without further ado, Mrs. Hopkins, tell us about you.
Okay, well, you're right. We did meet via Twitter, and I will say that I work hard to say that Twitter is positive as well, because I have met a lot of wonderful people through Twitter. I have gotten a lot of things from my students at my school through Twitter. So I appreciate you putting a positive spin on it, because there are a lot of wonderful things that can happen because of social media. As far as who I am, obviously I'm a big Gamecock fan, as you know, which is what really got me on Twitter in the first place. I'm currently at a school that has K4 through 5th grade and love every bit of it. I have done middle and high school as well, teaching and administration. I've worked at the district level doing different things, and even done a little adjunct here and there at the college level. So I've really done the gamut. I've worked at different parts of the state. I've done upstate, Midlands, and the lower part of the state. So just done a lot of different things. I'm at Carolina now, finishing my doctorate, hopefully in December. Fingers crossed. So that's my goal, and maybe I'll be done with school after that. My husband says that I will be, but I do not know.
Lifelong learners are never done with school.
No, and as an educator, I enjoy school.
Yeah,
So,
you'd have to.
Yeah, but I've said that after each time I went back and got my master's, I said I'm done. Then I did national board. I'm like, okay, seriously. And then I've decided, you know what, I'm going to do my EDS and superintendentship, did that. And I'm like, I'm really good. And now here we are. So I think maybe this is it. Then I can spend my money on Carolina athletics instead
There you go. Well, so what made you want to get into education?
I always swore I was not going to be a teacher. I was going to be a lawyer. My mom was a teacher, so I was raised in that home. And I saw what it took to be a teacher. And I'm like, Holly, you get paid pennies to spend a lot of time here. But, you don't really realize that as a kid. You hear your parents saying that. But I wanted to be a lawyer. I started school to do that. And in high school, I had a really great teacher, Mr. Pileggi is his name, who I had the pleasure of going back and teaching beside, and then being his assistant principal a couple of years ago, right before he retired, which was a cool experience. But he just instilled a lot of me. And as I went my first year, I'm like, God, there's, as a lawyer, there's a lot of great things I could do. But, he impacted me on such a daily basis. And I just thought even changed my mind. And so I was like, I'll do a clinical. I'll do that and try it. And so I did. And then, one thing led to the other, and I did it, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the kids. And I never looked back from that, which is shocking. I ask myself some days, it's been almost 20 years at this point, and it doesn't feel like it some days, and some days it feels like I'm going to retire tomorrow. So it's kind of a catch-22, but it's very different now than 20 years ago. And it's been challenging 20 years ago. It's challenging now, but the challenges do keep changing.
You mentioned something that has always resonated with me, because my mom was a teacher, my sister was a teacher, my aunt was a teacher. I got two cousins that are teachers. My brother-in-law is an administrator. He was a teacher. Teachers don't get paid what they should. And then you throw the pandemic in, and you've got all this hopscotch, jumping jack back and forth. And now so many teachers and administrators are leaving school systems. Mm-hmm. Why are you staying? What's keeping you there?
That's a tough question. And I thought about this. I was actually talking, I'm sorry, my dogs are here, and
dogs are always welcome in these conversations.
Yeah, dogs are welcome. I don't know what he's barking at. It's probably meal time. But one thing I think that I was talking about with a friend of mine earlier, this as a principal, I am just now 20 years almost in 3 degrees making what I made as a server at Outback in 2001. Which is what the world. I had no degree. I had nothing. I just waited tables and talked to people and bartended. It's crazy to think that in education too, you also have to continue to educate yourself to get raises, which in turn costs money. So we were talking about, why do you stay? The only reason I can really give you is the very trite reason of the children.
Mm-hmm.
It is a calling. It's really more so, I think, than it used to be. Kids have changed, parents have changed, teachers have changed, the world has changed. But when you can see what you do in the life of a child, or what you can see how your impact helps a child, that they may never realize what you've done, the groundwork, that doesn't matter. It's not about the prize or the rewards for you. It's about what you can do for a kid. And a lot of that, I will say, has changed in my time. Now, sometimes it's making sure they have lights on at home. It may be giving them a place to rest. It may be all sorts of things. Whereas when I first started, it was like, oh, when that child gets that concept, oh my gosh, that light bulb, it's so rewarding, which it still is. But there's a lot more to it now than just teaching. It's a whole, social dynamic, emotional dynamic, mental health. All of that has really exacerbated. And so I think seeing that and seeing that direct impact on kids is what keeps you there. It's my only answer.
It's a great answer. And it's reality. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and 3-year-old's in preschool, and she'll be going into kindergarten in 2 years. And like I see in my clients, I get a lot of teachers wanting to leave the workforce, and they're good teachers and they're leaving. And it's heartbreaking knowing that, while they may not be here or may not teach my kid, they're going to teach another kid like mine, and losing that talent. It's sad. If you could pick one thing that the state could do differently to help retain education talent, what would that one thing be?
Pay them for their time. I think everybody, and I do go to battle on Twitter with this one specific person who will remain nameless about, oh, y'all only work 190 days a year. You only work 245 or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. Anybody that knows anyone who's in education that thinks they only work that, it's a misconception. And to see what I see teachers do for children, they don't get paid to go to your child's parks and recreation ball game. They don't get paid to go home and not tend to their child and grade your child's paper so your child can grow. There's just so much that happens. I mean, and I can't tell you the amount of money teachers spend on their own to put back in the classroom. So not to give children candy, but to give children, I have teachers that are, making letter blocks and like not just in rewards. It's not an 8 to 3 job. It's not summers off. It's not a 190 days. And the part that I think really doesn't get realized is the mental and emotional tax it takes on you, because you're invested into those children and their lives. So it doesn't stop. You're worried about them. You're checking on them at home. You're making sure they have food. You're packing food bags. You're doing all sorts of things like that well after 3 o'clock every day. And so I don't know the exact answer to how you would formulate that, but getting that respect of what teachers really do. And sometimes that comes out more even than the pay. Pay can come not just necessarily in money. It can come in respect or other things, and building that back for our educational system and teachers would be the biggest thing to me to retaining them.
What advice do you have for a college student looking to become a teacher?
Experiences. Go and meet and work with different people, different children, different adults, different scenarios. You may have 25 kids, but each of those kids come from a different type of home. No matter if you're in a community school or not, you're coming from different types of home. They've had different types of trauma. They've had different types of stress. They have different types of needs, different ways to communicate. And, get outside of your norm, your comfort zone, and learn how to deal with people other than yourselves, learn how to communication is a big, big part of it. And as seeing the younger generation come out, this is what they communicate with. I do it too. I'm horrible about that. But if a child has an issue at school, they want you to pick it up and have a conversation. I don't want to hear via text, my child got hit on the playground. You've got to learn how to have those conversational skills and learning how to deal with people. That would be my number one piece of advice. And then number two, flexibility, rolling with the punches. You've got to do those two things, giving yourselves working with different people, learning how to work with different people, and learning how to be flexible would be my biggest pieces, because it's different every 5 seconds. It's not the same day ever.
Last question. If you had to pick one song to describe your work style, what would it be?
My work style? I think it would be Stone Cold's music, the intro.
It's WrestleMania weekend too.
Yeah, it's WrestleMania this weekend. It was 316 just a couple days ago, But when the glass breaks and he just deals with things, I feel like that as an administrator, that's kind of what you do. You hear a sound, the walkie-talkie goes off, a parent comes in, and you just deal. Teachers do the same thing. I cannot say enough about what they do in the classroom. A child throws up while this one's over here struggling to read. This one has a nosebleed. And it's just constant. And so to me, that would be it. The glass breaks and Stone Cold gets to work. And that's what we do. I think that would be a good, I guess it's not a song, but
it's a song. It's music in my ears.
I mean, it used to be my ringtone. So clearly it's downloadable.
I love it. Mrs. Hopkins, thank you so much for joining me today. I've enjoyed this conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you.